Hey, welcome back. My name's Jack, the snack that smiles back. And I have got it right on my face. Oh, and that one there too. Yay! Just wanted to quickly say thank you to all the new subscribers and hello, old Marky friends. How you guys doing? Those of you not in the loop, my mate Marky also does this kind of stuff on his own channel, so feel free to check him out. It is wonderful to meet you all, and I look forward to having you join me on this journey. Now I've listened, and so I've grabbed a few stock footage backgrounds to play with, to try out. You'll see some of them throughout this video and some later videos. Let me know which ones you find most appealing. I found quite a lot, and I've credited all the authors below, but of course I don't need to use all of them. But if you find any particularly that you find very interesting, or if you find all of them interesting, feel free to let me know in the comments below. After all, you're the one watching it, so let's make it more appealing to you. Anyway, that's all that needs to be said. If you're new to the channel, hi there, welcome, nice to meet you. Let's just get started. Am I the a-hole? Woohoo! Today's first story is by user AmiTheA HOLE Cousin Throwaway. Oh boy, throwaway, they may be the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for refusing to apologize to my religious cousin after I told her that she'll be going to hell? I know the title is a little wonky, so please hear me out. Throwaway since some of my family know my main account. So for some background, I, 24 female, am a lesbian. I've been out since I was 17, and my whole family knows. I know that my religious side of the family has a problem with my sexuality, but they haven't really said anything about it to me directly until now. A couple of days ago, I posted a picture of my girlfriend, 25, and I on Facebook. We've only been dating for a couple of months, so this is the first time that my extended family is seeing of her. A couple of hours after I posted the photo, my super Christian cousin, 29 female, sent me a private message. Basically, she voiced her disgust over the fact that I have a girlfriend and how homosexuality is a sin, etc. At the end of the message, she told me that if I don't change my lifestyle, I'll be going to hell, and that it's her duty as a woman of God to warn me. I knew her views were a bit extreme, but I didn't think that she would actually take the time to confront me. Now, when my cousin was 18, she got pregnant and had a son with her high school boyfriend. It was quite the scandal at the time. I responded back to her that she shouldn't be cherry-picking from the Bible as to what counts as a sin and what doesn't. I also said, premarital sex is a sin too. Guess I'll be seeing you in hell, and left it at that. My cousin freaked out and said how horrible it was for me to call her son a sin. I've received a lot of angry messages from family members. I don't feel bad for what I said, and I think my response is justified. I won't be losing any sleep over what my cousin thinks of me. However, this has made things tense for my mum. My cousin is my mum's sister's kid, and it strained her relationship with that part of the family. My mum doesn't care about what I said, but she wants me to apologize to my cousin to keep the peace. I don't want to apologize, and I told her that. She's a little upset that I won't apologize to appease them. My girlfriend thinks that I'm in the right, but I feel bad that I'm stressing my mum out over this. Am I the a-hole for not just sucking it up and apologizing? Edit. To add some more info, I am an atheist and don't believe that premarital sex is wrong. I was just trying to use her own logic against her to show her that she is wrong and being hypocritical. I doubt she even cares about that at this point. I showed my mum some of the responses in this thread, and I think she sees things from my point of view now. She told me that she was sorry for asking me to apologize in the first place. I'm going to take some of your advice and only clarify to her that I didn't mean that her son was a sin, just that her actions were, according to what she believes in. I will most definitely not be apologizing to her, though. Thank you for your kind words, and I'll give an update here if my cousin ever responds to my message. Yeah, straight off the bat, you're definitely not the a-hole here. You, as you did clarify anyway, are not actually saying you think premarital sex is wrong and that you think that she's a terrible person. You just are using her own logic against her. You're pointing out the lack of point she has. I was expecting there to be an issue to bring up about how we should be respecting people's religion regardless of if it's Christianity, but in this scenario, you aren't being rude about her religion at all. You're merely defending yourself and pointing out the discrepancies in her argument. I'm glad your mother was able to perceive your side of things. Honestly, I find it hilarious that your religious side of the family is demanding an apology for you being disrespected, pretty much. Let's check out the comments. Not the a-hole. You weren't calling her child a sin. You called her actions a sin because that's what she did to you. You are right. She shouldn't cherry pick, but she's self-important and homophobic, and that Bible is her shield. As long as she uses the Bible, she's always right. I would personally try to keep the peace, but that's a me thing, and I would advise you not to bend because she will pull this again. Why is it everyone who quotes from the Bible always forgets the first commandment, not the a-hole? ETA, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. It's the umbrella commandment. If we're cherry-picking anyway, we could also point out that the Bible only bothers to condemn male homosexuality. This is likely the result of the time in which it was written, where female agency, and especially female sexual agency, was not recognized. There's an interesting history fact for you. Nah, not even. OP called her action a sin. The cousin called OP's existence a sin. If anyone has to apologize, it's the cousin first, not the a-hole. My favorite has to be this one. OP could consider sending a non-apology that still backs up her original premise. I'm terribly sorry. I'm sorry that you misunderstood and thought I was in any way speaking ill of your son. Far from it. He is a wonderful blessing. I was merely pointing out that according to the Bible, your actions were a grave sin as where you were pointing out mine. I should not have responded to you in the way that you did to me. Or, I sincerely apologize for the fact that I wasn't clear enough and that you thought I was speaking ill of your son. I wasn't in any way condoning your wonderful son, who is a blessing. I was merely pointing out that your actions are a grave sin according to the Bible, that in no way translates your blessing of a son being a sin. I would never think that, and it hurts me to hear that you thought I implied that. My response to your post was meant to show that it's rather unkind to criticize others when I stooped to returning the favor. I shouldn't have. You might consider Matthew 7:5. You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. I love it. It's clear, classy, succinct, and absolutely demolishing. Not the a-hole. As a Christian, you're supposed to love thy neighbor as if they were your own flesh and blood. People, Christians and non-Christians, tend to throw hefty judgments around when they are not theirs to throw. Like I said, I'm a Christian, and while I try to be a good person to all walks of life, sometimes I misstep and say something I shouldn't, or do something I shouldn't. But I've never told someone they were going to hell because of their life choices. I don't believe that God is vengeful, and only lets the cookie-cutter Christians into heaven. That's not the way it works, in my opinion. I also get the irony of placing judgment on whether or not someone is an a-hole on this subreddit. Lol. Our next story posted by user Boombox. Would I be the a-hole if I broke the promise to donate food to poor people? Hi all, no native speaker, on mobile, yada yada. Last Saturday morning, I was laying in my bed surfing social media. I found a post where an kinda unofficial organization was looking for a person that they can drive to a town and buy food for a couple who was out of money and struggling. And since I know how it is to be poor and hungry, I'm relatively well off now, I've decided to help. So I went to the town, hit the grocery store, they said they couldn't come because of health reasons, and I bought food for like 1.5 weeks. They've been very happy and thankful. I was glad to help and went back home. Later, they wrote me a message thanking me again. I told them if they are ever in this situation again, like emergency again, I would be glad to help. Today, I received another message from them, asking whether I could do this again this month since money is tight again. In my country, the money comes every 1st of each month. I have a strange feeling. My boyfriend says that I shouldn't do it again, but I'm a person that stands to their word, so would I be the a-hole if I don't donate? It's hard to figure out what's going on behind closed doors with this family you're helping out. One could easily just assume that they're taking advantage of you. One could assume that they're just being terrible with their money, and now that you've come along, they're just going to leech off of your help. Or they could actually be in circumstances that are genuinely making things hard for them, and they are really thankful and reliant on your assistance. But I think that's the main thing you need to remember. You're assisting them. You are volunteering. They should in no way obligate you to help them. Not even if they were your blood family. Depending on the circumstances, of course. But basically, no, I don't think you could be an a-hole in this situation. You didn't really specify the requirements of this position as to how long you'd have to be doing it for, so assuming this position is just a whenever you're available kind of position, I don't think you should get any kind of shame for saying no this month. So I wouldn't say you're the a-hole. And considering you've already done it, you've technically already made your promise and stood to your word, so I don't think you really are needed to keep it going if you've already done it. Again, that does depend on whether or not you agree to be doing it for a certain amount of time. Let's see what everyone else says. There's an update to the story, so we will read that in a moment. Not the a-hole. You helped out and can always help out again in the future if cash is too tight. You aren't obligated to do it every month. Help out when you can. Info, what do you mean by saying strange feeling? At the beginning, I found it odd they couldn't come with me to the grocery store and help buying the food, despite they are two young men and they refused to call me at the beginning, just messaging. I thought they were just ashamed. Now they are asking to do it again while the groceries I bought aren't even consumed. So my feelings or fear is getting exploited by them. So let's find out what happened then. I love the AmiTheA HOLE update, so here's mine. The two guys who needed the food had strange reasons why they won't have enough money this month. I didn't believe them and researched stuff and it just didn't add up. So I talked to the guy who organizes the whole charity thing and he had 1,000 weird reasons why all the factors could still add up. It wasn't comprehensible and at the end he just said, well, but they're poor, so I've had the strong impression that he is kind of a dreamer with a savior complex, so I ended up just calling the police. I've bought food for like $94. That's a lot. I've followed the poor guy's Twitter, it was organized over this, since I'm curious sometimes, and one day they started complaining about people asking them why they can't handle money and why they are so unorganized, so there's that. There are enough other charities, so I'm supporting the homeless now since these are the people who obviously need it the most. Yeah, I'd have to say you made the right decision here. Even though it was hard to tell the other previous circumstances, it's definitely clear with this updated info that these people aren't those who really need the help as much as others, but rather people who just need to get a kick up the butt and read a book on self-management. However, some like I Thought So would like to dispute that. If you don't want to help, don't help. But judging the poor for their poor money management or strange reasons for still being poor is not okay. One doesn't dig themselves out of poverty after $100 worth of groceries, especially during a global pandemic where any number of pre-existing health issues could leave them vulnerable if they shopped for themselves. Clearly you aren't in the US, but the risk has not disappeared in many countries and millions of people are out of work. They don't have to justify their poverty to you, and you don't have to justify your unwillingness to help them again. Just stop being an a-hole about why and say no. I don't think this is a fair analysis. They are still supporting other charities and the homeless, but felt that this one didn't seem trustworthy. If they feel an organization is untrustworthy, they should find a different one to send their money to. And it isn't the poor people who are being criticized for poor money management, it's the organization itself. An organization is expected to be responsible and transparent with the donations they receive. Creaming Sleeve has some on-hand experience. I used to work as a support worker for people in need, and unfortunately, most of the time, poor people aren't good with money. There are so many reasons for this: vices, alcohol, gambling, video games, etc. And or mental health issues that can both prevent a person from working and also prevent them from budgeting correctly. It's a bit infuriating to see someone who can't afford rent and food buying a new tank for their pet python. Yes, that happened. But judging them isn't okay, because this is how they deal with the smack show that is their lives, and money management is a skill that they don't possess and may be unable to possess without help. From the OP. I didn't mention it, but I asked them whether I can help them budgeting, since this is part of my profession, and they refused. I'm not judging them for being poor or that they somehow have to cope with their terrible situation, nor do I demand an explanation for anything, but I expect honesty when they choose to share some information. That's why I'm actually taken aback. Same for the charity guy. Just be freaking honest with me. I think that's just the least thing they can do in return. Agree with your decision, as in a firm believer in trusting your gut instincts, and nobody's entitled to your charity. It's possible that the guy could have routinely asked for your charity and become reliant on it, as tends to happen with many people who are chronically poor. I guess I'm just trying to explain for anyone who doesn't understand that some people face financial hardship and are able to get themselves out. They may need a little help, but ultimately they are able to help themselves. And then there are some people who can't do this. I'm not sure if it's mental illness, past trauma, addiction, the poverty cycle, or a complex mix, but money management is a chronic struggle. It's really difficult to help these people, and unfortunately, one-off donations and charity doesn't help. Our next story is another throwaway account. Am I the a-hole for making a fake diary entry to catch my stepmom? I, 17 female, have been quarantined with my dad and stepmom. My mum is a doctor, so she was super paranoid about my family living with her during the pandemic, but as things where I live are settling down, she's let us come to stay with her again. My stepmom has known me for 2 years, and our relationship has always been weird. She's a nice person, but she can be pretty mean and childish if we do something she doesn't like. She also has a tendency to run to our dad if she hears something bad about us. Long story short, I have a diary and I keep a lot of private stuff in it. Dad called me a few days ago, we were visiting with our mum, saying he has to talk to me when I come back. Apparently, I was in trouble because of something I apparently said to stepmom. When he told me what she said I said, I immediately recognized it because I wrote it in my diary. I realized a lot of the stuff I wrote down was stuff she was telling him. So, I decided to come up with a plan to see if I was right. I wrote a fake entry, basically saying stuff I would never do in a million years, and set the trap. Dad calls me while out visiting with friends, and when I come back he grounds me for what I did. Stepmom comes in later, apologized and said it sounded concerning and she had to tell. I told her it was fake, knew she read my diary, and refused to speak to her. My dad came in and tried to talk to me, and I told him that stepmom was reading my diary, and he didn't believe me. Now I'm with my mum, and I don't know if what I did was fair. I felt it was the only way to prove my point, and I didn't know what else to do. Am I the a-hole? Not at all. I don't think what you did was a bad thing at all. Your stepmom was clearly invading your privacy and abusing it. If anything, I think what you did was rather genius. It was a clever game of wit that she ultimately lost. Honestly, if she was actually trying to be more closer to you as a stepmom, she'd try to be more communicative and, relate to you a bit better. Even if she did still go down the route of looking into your diary, she'd at least keep that between you both. And if she came across anything that was actually concerning, maybe she should actually go out of her way to talk to you one-on-one, so at least it is between you two, and at least if you are uncomfortable with her reading your stuff, you can tell her then and there, and she can respect that privacy. But in this scenario, it really sounds like she's just trying to have some power play. That, or is too afraid to confront you about it herself, so leaves it up to the dad to deal with it all. Either way, she's been a total a-hole here, you're in the right. Not the a-hole. Did your dad even address this massive invasion of privacy? What does your mum think? I kind of wanted proof before, because otherwise it would be my word against hers, and he always sides with her because he thinks she knows better. Mum was upset and thinks I went a little overboard, but understands why I did it. You didn't go overboard at all. You needed your evidence before you started falsely accusing her. I'd have done the same thing. These kinds of Am I the A-hole posts where kids do something that doesn't make them the a-hole against someone and then their parent gets mad at them anyways always bother me. Like, he's just simply not being a good parent. OP, stay with your mum for a while, not the a-hole. You're 17. Maybe even reconsider custody or start avoiding her. Our next story is from SF1890. Am I the a-hole for not letting my mother-in-law see my newborn, her first grandchild? I am 8 months pregnant and preparing to welcome my first baby. I have been terrified about COVID hurting my baby, so I've been quarantining and being extra careful. My husband, thank goodness, has been able to work from home since the pandemic has started. My husband and I have been together for 8+ years. I've been nothing but supportive and respectful to his mother. I've given her a lot of money to help her throughout these years and have even bought her a new car when hers was breaking down. I've not asked for a thing but this one really important request. My mother-in-law's household do not believe that this pandemic is real. They refuse to wear masks, refuse to social distance, refuse to follow any safety precautions. Last week, we asked my mother-in-law that if she really wants to see our child, that she quarantine for the next few weeks and follow safety measures. Wash hands, sanitize, keeping a cleaner environment, not have random people come in and out of her house. Her response was that I am being manipulative and brainwashing her son and stealing him from her and referred to me as that B-word taking her grandchild away. Mind you, this is my child and she's claiming it as her grandchild first. There are a slew of reasons why I don't go over to her house, which includes smoking cigarettes and weed indoors, extremely dusty areas, mold, etc., that we have deemed unsafe for me to be at. Their whole family has called me all sorts of things, from me tearing the family apart, to that flipping B-word, to racial slurs. I am Asian, and they are Caucasian, and snobby. I have not met a lot of these people, let alone have even said a single word to them. She even threatened to take a bottle of pills last week. My mother-in-law is also an alcoholic, to the point where I don't remember even having a sober conversation with her. I've tried to reason with her that I didn't mean to keep the baby away from her forever, but until COVID has died down and we feel it is safe. She refused to listen to that, only believing that I am a manipulative B-word. I told her that my baby's life is more important than any hurt feelings, and at that point, she lost it. She went as far as posting things on Facebook mocking me about my concerns, claiming that I am trying to force her to stop her life. I was okay with her seeing the baby after COVID died down, but because of how she has handled it, specifically calling me all of those names, claiming we don't help her, having her whole family drag my name through the mud, I really am considering cutting her out of my life for good. This is extremely toxic, and my child does not need to be exposed to such behavior. People have been calling me unreasonable and being too cautious, and that I can't keep a grandchild away from their grandparent. I am extremely stressed over this, on top of being extremely pregnant. Am I the a-hole for wanting to cut her out of mine and my child's life? Look, I'm not exactly someone who's crazy about family bond and blood of the covenant, all that kind of stuff. I think if you've got terrible people in your family, you have no reason or obligation to have to be around them. That, if anything, you choose your family. And to be fair, even though this is technically not your own family, but your partner's family, who you're talking about here, you are in the right to want to cut ties with them. Of course, this is a very difficult thing to have to deal with on your partner's side. I can only imagine the drama he'll have to deal with all this happening. But your reasons for doing this are very justifiable. You've been tolerating her behavior for a long time, and even going out of your way to help her out. So the fact she can't return the favor with just this simple request of taking care of yourself? No, I don't see any reason why you're the a-hole in this situation. One thing I would say, though, is don't expect your husband to be completely on board with the decision of cutting ties. You should expect him to respect your decision, of course, and your feelings towards this. But if he still wants family to be around, you can't be the one to deny him that. I think a good discussion on the boundaries that family's going to have with your child is something that should be discussed between you and your partner. I know I'm kind of focusing on what the husband must be dealing with over what the pregnant wife is dealing with, but that's more so just to look at a different perspective of the scenario. I'm not completely ignoring the issues that the mother is facing, which are, if anything, far more problematic than the husband would be dealing with. I mean, the racial slurs alone are enough to make you realize that family just isn't healthy people. At least not in terms of respect towards others. Not the a-hole. This is where you block anyone that thinks you need to put a newborn at risk to make an adult feel better. Not the a-hole. You are a great mother and a great person for taking the pandemic seriously. It's one thing to be upset with someone, but it's a whole other level to harass someone, be racist, and get others involved. Most parents not in a pandemic still want to be cautious and wash hands around newborns. How is your husband handling this? Yikes. I would absolutely cut her out of your life, but that is a decision you will need to discuss with your husband. If she wasn't such an awful person, I would allow her to come over and see the baby through the window, but with all the other stuff, you don't need to accommodate her at all. But I would do much more than that because you were right. Your baby's health is more important than grandma getting hold of the baby. Not the a-hole, but this is really something you need to work out with your husband. If he's on your side, then hopefully cutting her out will be pretty easy. What a mess. Tell people. Of course I didn't say she couldn't see the baby. I just said she had to quarantine because the pandemic is on and she refused. Then look sad and say, "Do you want my baby to die?" And watch them backpedal. The entire noxious bunch should have been cut off ages ago for calling you racial slurs. Don't allow them the opportunity to further demean you and damage your child's self-esteem. And, incidentally, this shouldn't even be a question because your husband should have already stepped up and told his mother to get bent. Well, everybody, that does us for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're looking at my face right now, that means you liked the video. So, all I ask is that you actually show it by liking the video. It really helps out the channel and lets me know what's working with the content. Plus, if you have any feedback yourself you want to give, be sure to comment below. I like to read them. Provided they don't hurt my feelings. And while you're at it, if you did enjoy today's content and you want to see more, be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell so you can always be updated on the latest content. I have a lot of fun doing these. It's real fun to talk to you guys and even get your opinions on things and just share my own as well. So yeah, if you guys want to see more of it, subscribe, be sure to check back later. Or hey, even check out some other videos if you haven't already. But with that all said and done, it is time for me to leave. So farewell. It has been nice speaking to you. You're an amazing person. I look forward to you staring at my face amongst the void in the future. Alright, bye-bye.